Good afternoon. I promised you that I would be here 5-ish, and it is exactly 5-ish. How are you all doing today? Oh, in case you are watching this on YouTube, hi there. How are you? My YouTube channel is up and running. I have been really sporadic over on YouTube over the years. Sometimes I would have a flurry of videos and then nothing for like a year. Sorry about that. That was so funny because we moved to a place. Hey, as everybody is coming in, welcome. We moved to a place that has just is very shaded, to say the least, and so that was my my excuse. I have really bad light until I just recently bought a little camera and a light to put up in front of me. So now I don't have that excuse. So if you are watching on YouTube, thank you very much. And for those of you that are listening via podcast, that's right, the old Survival Mom Radio Network. Boy, that was a fun adventure. And I don't have, it's not really a network anymore because it's just me at the moment. But I am happy to be there on podcast as well. If you check and you don't see me on your podcast, just give me a few days. My audio technician, otherwise known as my husband, is in charge of taking the audio from my videos and putting it up over on Libsyn, which hosts podcasts. So just be patient, a few more days. So anyway, I want to say hi to everybody. How are you out there? And I have a really fun topic, but also very thought-provoking topic, and that has to do with the Great Depression. Excuse me. I was expecting that. Actually, I was going to warn you ahead of time that my daughter took our little dog out for a walk. Liv, you want to hold her up?
Sure.
Our little dog is on a weight reduction plan, and she doesn't know it. But that weight reduction plan includes a daily walk. And there she is looking extremely uncomfortable. Cindy, thanks for letting me know. I'll keep kind of talking and see if maybe the connection gets better. Thank you for everybody who is joining in. And now you met my daughter and you met one of my dogs. The other dog is a foster, and she is out and about somewhere. So let's start our topic today, which is, what can you learn from Great Depression meals? Now, when I started researching this years ago, it was really interesting because I started noticing I've eaten that. You know, a sandwich, a piece of white bread with mayonnaise and a slice of American cheese. I've eaten that. And beans and cornbread. I've eaten that. My dad would sometimes take a big slice of cornbread and put it in a bowl and cover it with milk. And honestly, you would think that it was his favorite dessert in the world. Well, I've eaten that. And as I would go through this list and I put it out on my blog, it became one of the most popular blog posts I have ever had. And I realized that some of these meals, they have just made their way down to the next generation and the next generation. And in fact, I was even reading, it was like a gourmet food website, and it was talking about the beauties of the tomato sandwich. I've had that. And today, your printable actually is a quiz that is going to help you identify how many Great Depression meals have you eaten. You might be surprised, and we had a lot of fun with the scoring on that, and you'll see for yourself that the scoring it's a little funny, but we did have fun with it. So our Great Depression grandparents and great-grandparents, it's incredible how creative they came up, all the solutions they came up with. But it was also difficult and heartbreaking. And my grandmother lived through those years. And when I was a kid, I always wondered why she had a little margarine bowl filled with thumbtacks, another one with rubber bands. She never threw away rubber band. When it came to aluminum foil or tin foil, of course, as she called it, it was always smoothed out and used again and again and again. And it wasn't until I was older, probably in my 20s, and I was reading some, just some real life experiences from the Great Depression, I realized that those experiences had caused her to be more than thrifty, more than thrifty. And so that was an interesting insight. So the Great Depression years, if you could just sum it up in just a few, hard to sum it up in just a word or two, but one major word that kept coming back to me was insecurity. There was insecurity with the banks. I was just listening to an anecdote today told by a man who had grown up with his parents just paranoid about money. They were lower income, they hated spending anything, and they didn't trust the banks. They never invested any money. They were very, very fearful when it came to money. And when he started asking around, he discovered that it was his great-grandfather, either great-grandfather or great-grandfather, who had lived through the Depression and had lost every single penny he had in the collapse of the particular bank that he had his money invested in. And until the day he died, his grandfather never once put another dollar in a bank. He just kept whatever dollars he had hidden somewhere in the house. And when you read stories like that, you kind of just get a little bit of a feeling of that insecurity. Insecurity with banks, insecurity not trusting Wall Street, not trusting investments, not trusting any financial institution. In fact, maybe not even trusting something that you thought you could trust, your safe deposit box at the bank. It was FDR that signed an order that, let me see, I have it here, that all safe deposit boxes in banks or financial institutions have been sealed and may only be opened in the presence of an agent of the IRS. Well, that would make me feel pretty darn insecure on a lot of different levels, not just banks. So when we go back now and look at the everyday habit that they all had, which was eating, we find some really interesting things, because their motto was, and tell me if you've heard this before, use it up, wear it out, make it do, or do without. Let's start at the beginning. Use it up. In our modern day time, is it our mentality to use up whatever it is we purchase? Now, when it comes to toothpaste, we use it up. My husband is just a master at getting that last little bit of toothpaste out. But how many times do we just toss something aside or we throw it away? We really don't use it up. How about wear it out? When was the last time you actually wore out something? A lot of times we donate our clothes to a charity, to a Goodwill, something like that, long before the clothes are ever worn out. In fact, I doubt if either one of my kids even know what it is to wear something out. Maybe my son, because he was really tough on jeans and shoes, and he still is tough on shoes. But typically, it's not our mentality to wear something out. How about just make it do? Did any of your parents ever tell you that? Well, just make it do. You know, you don't really need a new whatever. Just make do with what you have. Well, again, I mean, Amazon Prime. You want something. I'm raising my hand here. I want something. I click on it and boom. I didn't just make it do. I just am finding that I can, in a matter of just seconds, just literally seconds, I can have it. And then it can be at my door within 24 hours. Maybe 48 if I get really impatient. Maybe a little bit longer if it's traveling from somewhere else, like China. Use it up, wear it out, make it do, or just do without. And that, if you just kind of get nothing else from this Facebook Live and this video lesson today, it would just be worth those four things. So if you're looking at ways to conserve money, if you're concerned about the direction of the economy now or at any point in the future, go back just to those four phrases. Use it up, wear it out, make it do without. Because just that alone can really help us conserve and preserve what we already have. So let's talk about food for a minute. Some of the meals that you're going to read on today's printable quiz, by the way, you can get that at thesurvivalmom.com/Great Depression Quiz, all one word. You're going to see things like maybe onion sandwich, or you're going to see cornbread and milk, as I mentioned before. How about a piece of bread with a little bit of sugar sprinkled on it? When I mentioned that to my mom, she said, oh, my mom used to give me that. That would have been my Nana. My mom used to give me that when I got home from school. How about a slice of lettuce with sugar sprinkled on it? I wonder what your kids or your grandkids would think if all of a sudden you started serving them some of these foods as meals or snacks. It would just be a big eye-opener. In fact, it might not be a bad idea just to say this, a piece of bread and mayonnaise. I remember getting mayonnaise sandwiches when I was a little kid. How about fried bologna? My dad would probably eat fried bologna every day. I imagine if he could, fried bologna sandwiches or just the plain old fried bologna. So, and back then people cooked from scratch. And if you can just if you don't already know how to cook from scratch. By the way, I'd really love to find out. Send me an email or leave a comment on this lesson. Do you cook from scratch? Because that is another way of just kind of cooking and living like they did back in the Great Depression days, where everything was cooked from scratch. And as you think about the different meals that people had, you're going to notice one thing. It's going to jump out at you. How many times their meals included bread? There was the tomato sandwich, there was the mayonnaise sandwich, the American cheese sandwich, the onion sandwich, the pickle sandwich, the potato peeling sandwich. Yeah, there are all kinds of sandwiches. So if you're thinking, well, how can I stock up on bread? Well, you can't stock up on bread. I mean, in my freezer, we usually keep a couple of loaves of bread. But the way that you want to incorporate that in your food storage is by stocking up on wheat that you can grind. And now that I think of it, I will have a lesson on wheat coming up in another maybe 3 weeks or so. And if I forget, remind me. It is the grinding wheat that gives flour that allows you to make the bread. And so if you know how to make bread from scratch, and you know how to cook from scratch, and you're eating very, very simple meals, if a really worst case scenario came where your income was cut out, you know, the banks were collapsing and everyone's very fearful, you could feed your family. The next key, of course, is just stocking up and building your food storage pantry to last for 30 days or 90 days or more, depending on what you really want to do and how much room you have and money. It's going to cost money to get some food stored. But bread, they could make bread from scratch, and that was a huge advantage. So when you look at these meals, and I hope you'll get the printable, look at how simple they are. Very, very, very simple. Just throwing 2 or 3 things together, and that's a meal. Making homemade cornbread and maybe some beans. My daughter was just telling me a few days ago, Grandma makes the best beans and cornbread. And this is a 20-year-old kid. You know, she recognized years ago when she was even much, much younger how awesome Grandma's cornbread and beans are. So the meals were very simple. As you put together your food storage, keep your ingredients simple. There is no reason to go out and buy expensive freeze-dried meals. Why do that? You can, but why do that when you can store freeze-dried green beans, freeze-dried corn, cornmeal, you know, some sugar, basic ingredients, and then you can make your own cornbread, corn pone, fried cornbread, fried corn pone. They really knew how to get a lot out of cornmeal and wheat and flour, that's for sure. So those are just some basic lessons that I think everyone should learn from Great Depression meals. Just, again, use it up, wear it out, make it do without, just kind of adopting that as you can in your day-to-day life, storing up on basic things and making things from scratch. And then, of course, the quiz, which I think is a whole lot of fun. You can get that at thesurvivalmom.com/Great Depression Quiz, all one word. And as soon as you request that, give the email system 5 or 10 minutes and just circle the meals that you've had and then have fun with the score. And you can always let me know what your score was. That's always fun too. So coming up, I hope you, if you have other lessons that you think you can get or you have gotten from Great Depression meals or this Great Depression conversation, let us know. It's always interesting. What I have coming up tomorrow kind of goes hand in hand with this, and that is yard sale prepping. I am going to talk to you, we'll go through some steps to find, first of all, identify what you really need in your prepping, and then how to find those and how to shop for those at yard sales and thrift stores and garage sales and Free Cycle and everywhere else. But first of all, you need to have a really good list to use so you kind of know what you're going for. So I am going to, I'm looking at comments here. Let's see. Someone says they still call it tin foil. Chris Dalzell says that she ate the Great Depression meals, sugar sandwiches with white bread, margarine, and white sugar. Did anyone grow up eating cinnamon toast? I don't know if that was a Great Depression meal, but boy, does my mom make a mean cinnamon toast. And to this day, my kids still talk about going over to Grandma's house and getting cinnamon toast. And I imagine if they had that and cornbread and beans, they probably were in little kid hog heaven. So someone mentioned, what book do you recommend for GDRs? What is a GDR? Oh, Great Depression recipes? Is that what you mean, Robert? I'm a little slow on acronyms. If it is GDR, if it is what I think you're saying, there is a book called, I forget. I will find the title for you. But over on YouTube, there is a channel by this wonderful little grandma who cooks Great Depression recipes, if that's what you mean, Robert. And oh, the book was called We Had Everything But Money. And I don't think it's in print anymore, but you can buy it on Amazon and maybe used book websites. We Had Everything But Money, and it is fascinating. And you know what? Let your kids read it and your grandkids. They will just develop so much respect for the generation that went through the bank failures and the Dust Bowl, food shortages, mountains of wheat by the side of train tracks that for various, a lot of times government reasons, were never even shipped out to people who needed the food. So very, very insightful. Again, that title, We Had Everything But Money, and it's a compilation of different people's memories and photos and anecdotes. It's a very entertaining read. I highly recommend it. So we have another person, bread, brown sugar, and milk. Well, brown sugar, I wonder if the Richies had the brown sugar and everybody else had the white sugar. Let's see, I'm trying to scroll down. Tell you what, I'm going to go through your questions kind of at the end. Lettuce with peanut butter. Trish, I have never heard of that. Lettuce with peanut butter, that's a new one. Let's see, I'm trying to scroll and do this in a way where I'm not missing anything. And Cindy says, I'm trying to do without more of the wants, not as easy it sounds these days. And Cindy, I wonder why that is. Do you think it's because it's just so easy? You know, I mean, honestly, Amazon Prime has taken impulse shopping to a whole new level. You know, swipe and it's on its way. And sometimes that's helpful, and I imagine sometimes, depending on, you know, your budget or maybe your personality, you could just swipe, you know, for the one touch order a little too many times. But anyway, again, the printable, thesurvivalmom.com/Great Depression quiz. Have fun with it. And I'm going to stop in the live video right now. I'm going to share this, the recording over in We Are Survival Moms, that Facebook group, as well as Survival Mom Boot Camp. That was the other one. So you can always catch these on YouTube if you miss them live. If you are really into YouTube, go over there. I'm adding them each day, or sometimes I schedule them out a day or two. So I'm not just 3 or 4 or 5 of them all in one day. I don't want to overwhelm people too much. So I will end this for now. Tomorrow it's all about yard sale prepping again, 5-ish. See you then.